We'll call this public meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world, and also for those who have passed away in our community, especially Michael Mullins, who's the father of State Representative Kyle Mullins, Patricia Wintermantle, who's the wife of former City Clerk Jim Wintermantle, and also Helen Simrell. Please keep the Mullins, Wintermantle, and Simrell families in your thoughts this evening. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Mr. Schuster?
Present.
Here.
Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Here.
I'm sorry. I would like to make a motion to correct a typographical error as found within the second whereas clause on item 7G. Delete March 3rd, 2022, and insert March 13, 2019.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor and a second on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved. Please dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A, minutes of the Historic Architectural Review Board monthly meeting held September 8, 2022. 3B, minutes of the Historic Architectural Review Board emergency meeting held October 4th, 2022. 3C, correspondence received October 25th, 2022 from OECD regarding code enforcement report for City Council. 3D, overtime review for all departments as provided by City Controller dated October 27, 2022 for the period January through October 2022. 3E, correspondence received from Berkheimer Tax Innovations dated October 25, 2022 regarding updated payroll preparation tax collections. 3F, City of Scranton year-to-date aggregate financial summary through September 30th, 2022. 3G, correspondence received from OECD ARPA Director dated October 24th, 2022 regarding ARPA spending update.
Are there any comments on any of the third order items? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
I have two quick ones. So, the DPW would like me to announce that it's the second annual IAM Local 2305 Scranton DPW Union Workers Thanksgiving Food Drive. It'll be at 101 West Poplar Street, Scranton, on November 12th, 13th, 19th, and 20th, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day, accepting donation of canned goods and non-perishable items, all going to the Little Sisters of the Poor to help our community. And they said thank you for their support. Next, I also have an announcement from, this will be the 2022 Elm Park Coat Collection and Giveaway. They are now accepting clean, gently used winter coats, hats, scarves, gloves, boots, special needs, extra large coats, and children's coats. Please bring to Elm Park United Methodist Church at 712 Linden Street, Scranton, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or call the church office at 570-342-8263 to arrange for pickup. Giveaway dates will be November 3rd through November 5th. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Do any other council members have any announcements? I have a few. The State Department of Human Services will begin accepting applications today for the state's low-income home energy assistance program. The application window closes on April 28th. Low to moderate income families can receive grants ranging from $300 to $1,000. Crisis grants ranging from $25 to $1,000 are also available for households in imminent danger of running out of fuel, being shut off, or who need help paying for repairs or replacements of heating sources. The grants are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. Residents can apply online at dhs.pa.gov, in person at the Lackawanna County Assistance Office in the State Building on Lackawanna Avenue, or by calling the LIHEAP hotline at 1-866-857-7095. Also, this Saturday and Sunday, the Scranton Recreation Authority will be hosting a pet food and accessory drive from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. each day. The drop-off is at the community room by the pool area of Naog Park. And also this Saturday night, there'll be a Kindness for Kelly McDowell fundraiser. Tickets are $20, could be bought at the door. The event runs from 5 to 10 p.m. at Montage Mountain Resort. Food, draft beer, soft drinks, and live entertainment provided by Chris Drive, the Hudson Valley Regional Police Pipe and Drum Band, and also Bliss will be providing entertainment for that event. I also would like to make a note that because of Election Day next Tuesday and City Hall being closed, the council meeting next week will be on Thursday night with a budget caucus at 5:30 p.m. and the meeting starting at 7 p.m. For next week. Also, for the next 2 weeks, unless your garbage gets picked up on Monday, your garbage will be a day late next week because of Election Day, and because Veterans Day falls on the same week as Election Day, instead of it being observed on Friday for DPW workers, they'll observe Veterans Day on Monday. So for the next 2 weeks, garbage collection will be a day behind throughout the city. And that's all I have. Mr. Voldenberg?
Fourth order, citizens' participation.
First on the list is Yvonne Zanis.
Yvonne Xanthus. I live in Lower Greenridge. The reason I'm here is last week I heard how you were worried about security. My daughter, in April, called me from Colts, downtown, the transit center, and said to me she's scared. There's an elderly man that won't leave her alone. I said, go to security. She said, they don't have security. I said, well, how could they not have security? It's a terminal. It's Mart's and Colts. Hundreds of people go through here. This went on for 1 month. She was hysterical. She had to come home, sit in the ladies' room to wait for her next bus. This is uncalled for. So May 7th, a smart gentleman from Mart's somehow would see his car parked in Mart's. He put a ticket on it. He came in, he said, I got a ticket. He said, well, give me your license and I'll make a picture. I'll take a picture of it and we'll call you back. He called the Scranton police, who are phenomenal. They got him within half a block from there. He was just let out of prison. You have to realize this man has been in jail numerous times. He's on Megan's list most of his life. I can't say more about how horrible the situation is. I went down with her, I believe it was right before they arrested him, and he came and went right next to my daughter, and I went up to him. I said, that's my daughter, leave her alone. No one, no security, nothing. So May 7th comes, they arrested him, he goes to jail. My daughter goes to a preliminary hearing and has to testify of what he said to her. He's in jail, but we have been in jail ourselves. Since this happened, we don't sleep upstairs anymore. We have to sleep downstairs because she's afraid. We have all the doors barricaded. We have drapes closed. It's like we're in prison. And I'm only upset because they're not showing any effort to get security. We went to a meeting with Shermack, Commissioner Shermack. I have to tell you, they promised everything. We're going to look into it. Well, they got $2 million in February. Maybe they should spend a little of that money on security for their station. My daughter has to work. She has to transfer different buses from the terminal. So now she's still sitting in the ladies' room until it's time to take her next bus. This is uncalled for. This city should be putting pressure on the bus terminal. This is a citizen of Scranton. I think this is a horrible thing. I think someone should do something. I called the PUC. They told me that Colts is an authority. I don't know what they mean by that. But I don't know why they can't get security. They had it before. They had a police officer. They never had trouble. They have overdoses down there. She's telling me this. She's just scared. But she has to work. She's trying to save for a car because maybe then she can get out of this situation. Please put pressure on. I know she spoke to Mr. Donahue, and he was kind enough to call her back. No one else called her back, so good thing
Yes,
you're there.
and Ms. Zanis, I know that the police department has increased patrols
Yeah,
down
they
around
do.
the terminal, but unfortunately, we, as the city, right, we can't provide security for
No, but you
inside the
could put
building.
pressure on
Yes,
them.
yes.
You have citizens from this city going there. And she's
Absolutely.
petrified. Do you know what it's like at my house at night? Do you have an idea? I closed rapes. We barricade the doors. I have a washing machine in front of one door. I have many doors in my house. I'm scared. She's scared. She thinks he might have family coming at me. She doesn't know. The police were great. They were the only ones that cared. I'm going to tell you right now, if it wasn't for the Scranton, I'd give them an A+. They still come by our house at night because it's dark and it's scary over there. We're by ourselves.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think if Scranton puts a little effort into giving them a push, they got $2 million in February. What did they do with it? They didn't make any improvements in Colts. Anyway, another thing, best of luck, Mr. Donahue.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're going to win.
Next on the list, Kristen Zanis.
Good evening, Council. As my mother said, I tried everywhere in this city to get help. I spoke to Chris Shermack with somebody from the DA's office. I got no help. I don't know if he spoke to the mayor. Maybe he did. Maybe I just don't know. Maybe I didn't get a call back. But I mean, unfortunately, at some point before the whole thing took place of a hearing, went into the paper. If I don't get any help, I'm just going to go to a news channel and see if maybe they'll help to put some pressure on the bus company because, it is in the city. If nobody's going to help, then people aren't going to start taking public transportation. Then what's the point of it? What's the point of a big bus company here if nobody's going to take it? Nobody went through what I did. I understand, everybody's entitled to their security here too, but they need security down there. You go to the mall and there's security. No matter what type of security it is, hired or police, no matter what it is, there's somebody there. You go to the county building, there's somebody there. You go to the courthouse, there's somebody there. You come here, there's somebody there. I'm not saying you guys shouldn't have security. I'm just saying that down in a bus company, when there's marts coming from other places, which that didn't make a difference for him because he only targeted city residents, but I was his last target. I don't know if he's going to stay where he is in jail now, but somebody in this city has to help somehow. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Voldenberg, could we reach out to Colts to see what type of security, they either have down at the bus station or that they are anticipating providing in the future?
We will, Mr. Donahue. We'll reach out
Thank
in the
you.
morning.
Next on the list is Joan Honowanitz.
Joan Hodawan at Scranton. I too am a pedestrian who has to take public transportation, and I ride Colts buses maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And I find this situation unacceptable. Whenever the terminal is open, there are Colts employees and Mart's employees in there. Now, they may not be dedicated security personnel, but they can call the police just as readily as anybody else can. And if a situation is brought to their attention and they fail to do so, I think those people have a cause of action. And if I were them, I'd be calling WILK Talk Radio, and I'd be hoping there'd be an article in the paper, and WNAP TV, they do investigative reports, but that's inexcusable. Colts does have a board, and they have monthly meetings, and answers should be demanded, and because they are taxpayer funded. And I understand that the county cannot control them because they're a fire and forget board, just like a cruise missile. Off you go. And, but they shouldn't have to put up with that crap, nor should anybody riding Colts. Okay, Kyle, is tonight going to be your last meeting as a councilman?
No.
Now, don't be coy. Are you going to tell us on November 10th what your plans are for the rest of the month?
At the moment, yes.
Okie dokie, I'll be asking again. So, what is the status of the union contracts?
It's my understanding they're still being negotiated.
Yeah, you can serve a couple tours as state representative and come back and they'll still be working on them. How about the 2021 audit?
I haven't gotten an update as of yet. I know they were supposed to meet next week, but last
Okay.
Thursday, but that reminds me to, Mr. Voldenberg, can we reach out and see what the result of that meeting was?
So we're still going to have on the agenda the draft budget for November 10th?
As long as we receive the draft budget tomorrow, yes.
Okay. I'm just hoping, though, that the administration can explain the numbers they provide, because you have open-ended union contracts, you've got the payroll preparation tax, which is still hanging in the rafters, you've got inflation to deal with. Last week you had a budget $110,000 to pay the electric bills. There's a whole lot of uncertainty, and we have no audit. Have we any idea when City Hall is going to reopen? Speaking of security.
Like I said last week, it is my understanding that City Hall is open. From what I've been told, is that you just have to check in at the desk downstairs.
Okey dokey. And they will answer the phone if you call? I'm going to try that.
I can't guarantee someone's going to answer the call.
I'm going to keep a log, and I'm going to try.
Yes, I encourage you to do that, yes.
Yeah. I will say I was pleasantly surprised to see 3 donations in tonight's agenda. And I think, citizens who are kind enough to thank the city for services by making donations, even if they're anonymous, or donations of the lighting fixtures for the election, that says a lot about the character of some of our citizens. The grant for the Davis Trail. I saw a deadline of October 27th. I assume that we've been able to push that back.
Yes.
If you look in the backup, it says
Yeah, I believe that was been able to push back, but I'll double check for that.
Okay, yeah, because we have missed that one. And I just want to say, I think that most of the city employees do a very, very good job. So when I keep asking about the union contracts, it's not because I don't think that the city employees deserve every penny they make and every benefit they receive. It's just that I feel uneasy because budgeting is something that we have to wrap our arms around, and we paint ourselves into a corner by letting those contracts expire. I'm hoping, I haven't seen, and hope we're going to see a list of all the contracts so that we know when they expire so we can get ahead of that power curve, not just for the unions, but for everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, Les Spindler.
Good evening, Council. Les Spindler, city resident homeowner. I'd like to echo what Joan just said about the donations to the city. I saw that on the agenda. And, it's very nice to have people in the city that really care about the city and they're willing to donate money or resources. That's a good thing. Okay, next. My weekly question. Is there any update on our corner about getting fixed as we were promised a year ago?
Yes. They were supposed to take a look at it on Friday,
This Friday?
last
Oh,
Friday.
last Friday.
That was the email that we sent out. We sent out for another request for an update, and one of the managers down at DPW said they would take a look at it for tomorrow, on Friday, but we'll follow up and see what they,
Okay, I work part-time, so I don't know if they were there when I was at work or not, but, I mean, I looked at it last year, I said that supervisor was there, and he painted lines on every corner of the intersection. So I don't know what they have to look at again. He even said, oh, this was done terrible, we'll take care of it. I'm still waiting, I'm beginning to think that list that I hear I'm on begins with an S.
Mr. Voldenberg, could we reach out to see?
I will, Mr. Donahue.
Thank you.
The city engineer is supposed to look at that intersection.
Okay.
Lastly, I'm going to repeat what I did last week. Next Tuesday is Election Day, and I urge everybody to get out and vote. And I hope they do what I'm going to do, as I said last week. Just when you see the little oval on top that says straight Democrat, I hope you fill that in, because the Republicans want to do away with our rights, as was done in many states already. They want to limit people's voting rights. They want to take away a woman's right to do what she wants to do with her body. And they're not for gun control. That's a fact. And all these things I just stated are facts. So hope you vote right next Tuesday. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. And just a reminder, too, the straight party circle isn't available anymore. So you do have to fill in the individual circles. Yeah. Well, that was a deal that was made between Democrats and Republicans, but that's a whole other thing. Next on the list, Lee Morgan.
You know, as always, I appreciate everybody's opinion, but next Tuesday is Election Day, and I hope that people pay an awful lot of attention. And before they vote for anybody, they pay attention to what the Democrats have done to our country in the last 2 years. The cost of food, the cost of fuel, forcing people to take COVID shots, people in the Congress and the Senate talking about pursuing Republicans like Maxine Waters and many others that just led to riots and abuse of the political system over the last 2 years. And I hope that the voters would hold Democrats responsible for the damage they've done to our country. And it's not a personal thing, but pay attention to what's happened to our schools. I think all the members of the Scranton School Board are Democrats. I could be wrong. And I also believe the city council members are Democrats. But I just made a video for ECTV about the closures in Scranton, and I hope that everybody will go to YouTube and watch that. I was involved in the fight against the construction of the Scranton School when it was built, and I was opposed to the closure of East Scranton Intermediate and John Adams, and last time John Adams was saved, but East Scranton Intermediate went to a businessman, and we've suffered enough under, in my opinion, the pay-to-play Democratic government that we have in this city. And I just hope that people, when they vote on Election Day, vote Republican or Independent, but anything but Democrat. The other thing I have here is the slide at Neogga's gone, so I called the clerk yesterday and asked a question on who authorized the removal of the slide at Naog Park, and I'm wondering if any council member has anything they want to say about that.
The administration authorized.
Okay, well, how does the administration have authority to go into there and tear that down? That's administered by an authority, so the mayor doesn't have that right, so she broke the law. Now, my other question is, where did the funding come from to remove that?
So it's my understanding it was a part of the demolition bid for the pump house, but a change order was put into that contract to include the slide.
And who authorized it? Council?
Council did not, no.
Okay, so nobody authorized the expenditure except who, the mayor?
Council authorized I believe council authorized the expenditure to demolish the pool, or the pump house. But we got nothing in terms of a change order on that.
So what's the council going to do if the mayor tore down the slide and didn't have the authorization to do that? Because only the authority had the right to make the decision to remove the slide, not the mayor. So what's happened is a violation of law, because the city and the administration had no right to do anything in that park. It was being administered by an administration that it doesn't answer to the mayor. And, you know, that's where I'm getting to when I talk about how corrupt I think our government is. I think it's beyond corrupt. And, you know, my last thing here, right, is what did the slide actually cost to construct when it was constructed?
So according to an article in the Scranton Times from April 8th, 2003, the cost was approximately $300,000.
So we spent $300,000 to build a slide that the tax group used to pay collect donations and pay $5 for kids to slide down that into the pool. So what we have is we've wasted community development money to build a slide. The administration has probably used federal or state funds to tear down the slide that belonged to the residents. Then if you look at other things that have been done to the residents of this city over the course of my lifetime with federal and state funds, when you take a look at the Southside Sports Complex, the state determined that you could sell that to the University of Scranton. But the federal government and the law says you can't sell that. So if the federal government comes to Scranton and says that costs $10 million and you're going to pay us, they're going to take that out of any grant money that comes to this city. The harm being done to the residents in this city by this council, not this particular council, but its elected government, just like the contracts we're going to pass through here, okay, and the mayor. And it just never stops. Never. And people keep voting for Democrats that smile at you and tell you everything's okay. Look at our school system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That exhausts the sign-in sheet for this evening. Would anyone else like to address council?
Tom Coyne, Manuka. I'll actually jump off on that last comment. The slide removal. We understand that it was done as a thief in the night. It was a backdoor operation to tear it down without community input. Since it did not go through this body and funds were taken from an allocation that was set aside for the pump house, not for the removal of slides, has anyone in this body gone forth and put forth to the ethics board to find out whether or not that was an ethical duty of the mayor? We have an ethics board in this city supposedly for a reason. It's to audit, look at, and to make sure that the duties of office are taken out ethically. Has this body ever filed an ethics complaint within this last year over any action that has been done in this city? Whether it be whether it be a power cleaning pump that mysteriously was used for personal gain rather than city gain. But I've been informed that for some reason that the union contracts are specifically excluded from the ethics board, that information cannot be gathered by the Ethics Board for any union contracts. That's baked into the union contracts, which I find amazingly startling, considering part of all of the contracts are a duty to the city and an oath to the city that most employees sign under. I understand the police do it. I understand the fire department does it. I understand that the city council and mayor does it. I'm not sure of whether or not all of the employees of the city of Scranton swear to be ethical and upstanding. If they do, then I would not see why any contract would bar the ethics committee from going in and reviewing it. Because to bar them from coming in and reviewing it, in my opinion, is an unethical concept, and it goes in violation of the very oath they take when taking that job. On to tax-free organizations. 38% of the city is a nonprofit. But I believe in this year so far, we've had, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 or 5 pilot donations. It's amazing that out of such a big city with so many nonprofits, almost none of them pay in lieu of taxes. One of the larger by percentages that I can pull off the top of my head was the Boy Scouts of America, who I believe back in January paid $1,000 for their donation, which is much greater than the majority of every single pilot in the city, except for the university, who makes quite a lot of money. As a matter of fact, the drug treatment centers threw a drop in the bucket, and we know all the drug center treatment centers, though they are nonprofit, charge insurances an arm and a leg, and they certainly do make money. Their employees are not paid nickels and dimes. I've watched the city over the past year. Trash monitoring that will save $1 million. Sure, it'll save $1 million if we bake into it that we fire employees, terminate routes, and do less services. If I fire 50% of City Hall's employees, guess what? I'm going to produce a savings. It doesn't mean I can, but I can guarantee you that I can save City Hall money if I can put on paper that I'm going to fire everyone. The reality of these contracts are numbers that are given are fictitious. They're based on a principle to hire a secondary contractor for large amounts of public funds who cannot perform the duties that they come before this body and say that they are. They're given out like candy, and they walk away with their pockets enriched while the citizens of this city sit with dirt and dust in their pocket. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address council?
Good evening. Dave Dobson, resident of Scranton. I would like to point out to my Republican friends that if you look over in your crane, whose fault is that? That's their fault. They voted for a man that pussyfooted with Putin and did whatever he wanted. They blew up one of their own ships. Now they're shutting down grain to Ethiopia and Africa and the northern Mediterranean. It's just ridiculous. Now, 54% of the inflation rate is corporate profits, excess corporate profits. That was an analysis by Congress lady from California. If I agree with 2/3 of what is achieved or attempted to achieve by a politician, then that's all I can ask. I can't agree with everything all the time. Mr. Mastriano, our governor, He's already professing that he has illegal plans to mess with the vote. And I mean, really? Do we really need that? Maybe the wrong people are rioting. And by the way, on the vote, Social Security, Medicare, veterans, public schools, you name it, they are all up for grabs after this election or past 2024. All they need is a president that agrees with them if they get a majority. And in many cases, these states are so gerrymandered that it takes 100,000 people to counter the vote of 75, or even worse. 44% of the vote in some states guarantees a Republican Congress. And if they get anywhere near 50, like Wisconsin, they have it. So my point is, you guys can't do nothing about it. I can't do nothing about it. But I can vote for somebody that's going to counterbalance it. And that's what we need to do. We really need to do it. They're photoshopping defund the police onto Democrats' T-shirts and putting it out in ads. I mean, that's just totally dishonest. Nobody in their right mind wants to, even if you're a gun enthusiast and you nail somebody coming in your front door, there's a judicial review that's going to put you in a lot of hurt. So I'm mighty glad with all of these beautiful Goldilocks that the police might be keeping that type of element at bay. So I don't have to defend myself and then defend myself in court and maybe have my whole life ahead of me spent in bankruptcy. I mean, it's just January 6th. Oh, it was Antifa. I don't think an Antifa person, I'd be going the other way if I were Antifa. And, you know, it's all types of people like Dr. Fauci. He has to have a bodyguard. The man that actually developed a lot of drugs for HIV and helped to develop the vaccines and you name it. It's totally ridiculous. And that debate last week, I snuck out on you, so I won't do it this week. To hear that debate, I don't know why Fetterman's people agreed to that. With News Nation, really? That was silly, but my vote's already in, and it certainly isn't for any of the Republicans on the slate. I don't vote for people that come from neighborhoods that display the flag upside down or go branding T-shirts or anything else. It's enough is enough. We need to just get some results and get the country back together. Thank you. Have a good night.
Would anyone else like to address council?
Marie Schumacher. I guess since everybody's using this as a political podium tonight, I may as well stand up for the other half. I am proud to say I will vote for every conservative on the ballot, and I question Mr. Fetterman and his beliefs. Let me just put it that way. If anybody who could vote for him, I would question. Now, moving on to city business, when the East Mountain Road was resurfaced, there was because of the curve at Seymour and East Mountain Road, the state mandated when the road was paved and curbs put in and drains and all that good stuff. they said that there had to be a crosswalk on the lower side because of the curve, and of course now with the way everybody drives up there, it's like Indianapolis. And it was taken, when the road was resurfaced, whoever did the marking did not put the walk way back in. And these actually, when you're coming up the hill, there was a sign saying, at the end of the sidewalk, saying, because then after that it's woods. They said use the crosswalk. Well, the crosswalk is gone, and so is the sign. Somebody helped themselves. First they knocked it down, and then it's gone. And I think that needs to be put back in for safety's sake. Now, I don't know if you all read the articles that were in the Scranton Times about the particulate plastic in our streams. What have you done so far to check on the concentration of those particulates in the leachate that possibly will be allowed to go to, 200,000 gallons a day? Have you done anything?
So in our letter that we sent along with officials from Dunmore, we asked for more particulars of the plan as it relates to leach it into Roaring Brook. And we still have not received any particulars of that plan.
When do you expect one?
I'm hoping soon.
Well, maybe we need to follow up on that. The other thing, on the union contracts, I don't see anything in our budget now that provides for a raise, which I guess we will have to pay for last year and this year. So, I mean, that gets pretty powerful.
So we do have the contingency line item that was $800,000 last year, and that we've only spent 110 out of so far this year, because of the increase in electricity costs. We passed that last week, so that will be brought over, and we've also met both of in the last 2 years. Our fund balance policy, which calls for, I believe it's 8% of the entire spend. So we do have a fund balance, and we've had a fund balance for the last 2 years.
Sufficient to cover percentages for increases for the 2 years?
That's the hope, yes.
Okay. And would anybody tell me what you think that we were supposed to gain from the LRTA back in 2019?
Excuse me?
What did council expect from the LRTA legislation, the city, when it was passed?
The hope was for increased development.
And how do you think it's done?
I mean, I think that the COVID pandemic maybe put a little pause on that, but I think we're getting better. I think an overall tax reassessment would be helpful in that too.
Why? Okay, okay, I'm out of time, but I'll start where I want to go from here next week. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Would anyone else like to address council?
Delmar Gazevich, Scranton City taxpayer. I think we've seen pretty clearly tonight massive policy failure on the side of local government, county government, and state and federal government in regards to underfunding our public transit systems. There is no reason that any citizen should ever be allowed to feel unsafe on public transit. And the reason that this happens is that we do not invest or take seriously public transit in our communities. Now, I asked last week if anyone would be interested in trying to rely on public transit for their life this week. Has anyone done that? I'll take your silence as a no. Would I be correct in assuming that it's because it was unreasonable?
With 2 kids under 2, it is unreasonable, yes.
Exactly. So our public transit is not capable of supporting our community. We've seen that tonight with 2 women earlier, with dangers in the bus station, and you've just said so yourself. How long have I been asking for the city of Scranton to invest in public transit? I've been asking largely for the train, but there's been nothing regarding public transit whatsoever. How many blocks of parking lot is in Scranton unused to foster the car? How much money are we losing in tax revenue, in personal income from not having houses, mixed-use neighborhoods, businesses, etc., in these parking lots? Because we want to invest and allow private corporations to invest in automobile transit. And we focus our money away from public transit, away from the public. No one should ever feel unsafe in our cities, on our streets, in places funded by the public, places not funded by the public, but especially in places that we personally fund through taxes, through investment. Why are we not investing in our people? Why are we investing in our automobiles? The woman attested that she will be working to purchase a car, so that way she doesn't have to take public transportation, so that way she doesn't have to face the risks associated with public transportation. We know that automobiles are a massive financial burden. It's one of the reasons that so many municipalities, so many communities, so many individuals are in poverty. The average car payment in America is $700 a month. An oil change is upwards of $60. Emissions, inspections, gasoline, all of these are major financial drains on our individuals, on our communities. The automobile is the number 2 expense in every household. After housing, it's the automobile. Not food, not childcare, not healthcare. It's the automobile. And yet, we're allowing our citizens to fall into poverty through our investment in the automobile, through our disinvestment in public transportation, and we're allowing them to be put in situations where they're unsafe, and situations in which they feel that they now have to go into debt and lose income and take on massive financial burdens in order to avoid those risks, because we're not investing in public transit. We can start with the buses. Hopefully, we'll expand from there. But so far, over the past few months, nothing has changed. There's been no increase in investment in the Colts system. There's been discussion of walkability, which I praise the city for. Hopefully, we'll see that expand. But on every level, personal to federal government, we need to look at what we're taking care of in our cities, in our communities, on our individual lives. And we have to figure out why we're so willing to put everything we have into our cars and take everything we can from our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address council? Mr. Voldenberg?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. Schuster, do you have any motions or comments?
No comments tonight. I'll just follow up with some of my requests from the last few weeks with Frank this week, as well as Solicitor Gallagher. Thanks.
Dr. Rothchild, do you have any motions or comments?
No, none this evening. Thank you.
Mr. McAndrew, do you have any motions or comments?
Just 2. So every week when ECTV is live taping this or broadcasting our council meeting, I get a message, but I don't see it till after the meeting, but I keep hearing from more than one person that they lose sound during the meeting, either for most of it where they're living and watching it, or parts of it. So, Mr. Voldenberg, could we please check with them? I know they're right behind us in the back room, but did you hear what I said or no?
Would you repeat yourself, Mr. McAndrew?
Yeah, sure. So you can't hear me either.
Consulting with...
I received a couple complaints, and they're always during the meeting, and of course, I don't answer them then, but what I'm hearing is that they're not hearing. During the meetings, there's no sound for parts of our live meeting. I don't know if that's the case when it's viewed later, but during the live session, the volume or the sound seems to cut out for the whole meeting for some, or for other people watching parts of it. So I don't know how that is fixed, but I know they're right behind us. If we could, get that to them.
Mr. McAndrew, the contractor, Endeavor Incorporated, was in this afternoon. And
Okay.
they worked for a few hours, and they said it should be fixed.
Oh, so they're aware of it?
Yeah, they're aware of it. And
Okay, well, I didn't know that. Well, thank you.
so we'll find out after we speak with them after the meeting if it went through clearly.
Great, thank you. So, secondly, we talked about signs, city street signs, and the issue that we're still working on or investigating. Mr. Schuster brought up about, do we still have the money to do it, or where's the money to do it? But also, in addition to that, someone reached out to me about the actual signs themselves. They're saying that, Irving Ave, there's a sign for Irving Ave, but it doesn't say south or north. And we know that there is a south and north Irving, and this might be confusing to people. They also said that there was, in Southside, there was in Herz, H-E-R-Z Avenue, but the sign says Hertz. So, I don't know, these are concerns by a resident. Obviously, he's paying attention and watching. So, could you look into that for us with regards to proper signage and the spelling of them? And the same resident has always also brought forth issues in the past on South Irving and Willow Street about the line of sight and the dangers that it presents itself. I think we brought this up, or this was brought to my attention maybe 2 months ago. I know it was last year. I know there were some issues. I know that code enforcement did go out. Could you see if, since the last time we inquired about it, where we're at with that?
I'll follow up.
I know they're going to take
So
a
is
look
that-
at it and try to do
I know they
something.
sorry to interrupt, but
That's okay.
I know they took a look at South Irving and Birch,
Okay.
because I think we got an email about that about a month ago, I believe. But was Willow included on?
Yeah, this
Okay.
is a different, it's not the same gentleman that you got it from.
Okay.
All right, so this is a different constituent. So just follow up on that, see where we're at with that. I know it's in the same neighborhood. Let's take a deeper dive and make sure they can take care of that for us, or give us
I'll
an
reach
answer
out.
at least. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I know there is a Hertz Court. I don't know about a Hertz Street, but I know there is a
Okay.
Hertz Court.
Or an alley, they said. I'm sorry, I apologize. It's an alley or court.
The only two things I have, I did get a complaint from a resident that lives on the unit block of South Irving Avenue. Apparently in January, February-ish of this year, someone drove straight through the dead end and took out the guardrail that's there. So Mr. Voldenberg, can we reach out to DPW to see if it's the city's responsibility to fix that guardrail, or if that would fall on PennDOT? Because at the end of South Irving Avenue goes to the expressway there, and I don't know where the PennDOT right-of-way starts and what then is the city's responsibility. So could we just pass that along to DPW to see what how we could get that fixed, whether it's the city doing it or PennDOT?
I'll take care of it.
Thank you. And then also, could we also send a request regarding the Schumacher's comments about a crosswalk at the corner of Seymour and East Mountain Road, and also a sign leading up to that would tell pedestrians to use the crosswalk?
I will.
Thank you. And that's all I have this evening.
5B, for introduction, a resolution accepting a donation in the amount of $75 to the Scranton Fire Department to be placed in the Special City Services account as noted.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion, item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction, a resolution accepting a donation in the amount of $100 to the Scranton Fire Department to be placed in the Special City Services account as noted.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5D for introduction, a resolution accepting a donation from Brer's Towing located at 1013 Ferdinand Street, Scranton, Pennsylvania, for the use of 2 portable light stands used to illuminate the Kaiser Valley Community Center parking lot and Weston Field for polling purposes on November 8, 2022, Election Day.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5E for introduction, a resolution ratifying and approving the execution and submission of the grant application by the City of Scranton to Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, C2P2 Fall 2022 Grant Program in the amount of $173,967.19 for the purposes of improvements to the Davis Trail at Naog Park.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5E be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question,
On the question, I know a little while ago I asked about reaching out to the administration on some of those donations there to help with improvements on the Davis Trail. Could we reach out again and ask where we are with those while we're on that topic?
I will, sir.
Thank you.
anyone else on the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
Sixth order, 6A, reading by title, file the council number 30, 2022, an ordinance, amending file the council number 51, 2019, an ordinance, amending sections 9E of the Code of the City of Scranton, governing complaint and investigation procedure.
You've heard reading by title of item 6A. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6A pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, file the council number 28, 2022, amending file the council number 81 of 2021 to add a validation notice to the collection procedure and authorization regarding unpaid municipal claims for delinquent accounts.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Public Safety for adoption, file the council number 29, 2022, repealing all prior ordinances regarding fines to be imposed for City of Scranton Fire Department responses to false alarms in the city, establishing fines to be imposed for the activation of an alarm device which is determined to be a false alarm by the fire department, authorizing the administration and enforcement of said fines, and prescribing penalties for violations of this ordinance.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C, for consideration by the Committee on Public Safety for adoption, resolution number 144, 2022, ratifying and approving of the execution and submission of the grant application by the City of Scranton's Fire Department to the FEMA Assistance to Fires Grant for training, and authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials of the city of Scranton, Pennsylvania, to accept the grant if successful, and execute all necessary paperwork to accept and utilize the grant up to the amount of $71,624.20 if awarded by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for such project.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, resolution number 145, 2022, a resolution authorizing the City of Scranton to administer the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program grant awarded to Maternal Family Health Services for the project to be named the Circle of Care Clinic Relocation.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As chairperson for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted.
7E for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, resolution number 146, 2022, authorizing the mayor, Office of Economic and Community Development, and other appropriate city officials for the city of Scranton to execute and enter into an agreement with Broderick Excavating, Inc. to provide demolition of hazardous properties within the city of Scranton.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As chairperson for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7E.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7E legally and lawfully adopted.
7F for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, resolution number 147, 2022, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract between the city of Scranton and the Scranton School District with Rainey and Rainey to perform the Scranton Single Tax Office independent audit for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7F.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7F legally and lawfully adopted.
7G for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for adoption, resolution number 148, 2022, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into amendment number 3 to the multi-bridge projects agreement by and between the city of Scranton and the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation.
What is the recommendation of the vice chairperson for the Committee on Public Works?
As Vice Chair for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7G.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7G legally and lawfully adopted.
Eighth order, 8A, file the council number 9, 2022.
This piece of legislation is the updated zoning ordinance. It has been tabled to allow for additional input and/or any changes.
8B, resolution number 143, 2022.
This piece of legislation is a liquor law license transfer. It has been tabled to allow for a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, November 15th at 5:30 p.m. If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.